what I see a lot in the African American community or people of skin color is I see a lot of traction alopecia, actually, which is basically traction alopecia is hair loss that's caused by repeated pulling of the hair from braiding or other kinds of hair treatments.
Welcome, Dr. Okoro. Welcome for everybody who has joined. This is the first of many informational and educational seminars we are going to do for men and women all over the world. Dr. Okoro and I have partnered to educate and to treat hair loss. So why is it that hair loss is so predominant in the ethnic community, in the BIPOC community?
Well, as you know, there are many causes of hair loss. The most common cause of hair loss is still hereditary hair loss. There's other causes from aging, stress, illness, hormonal imbalance, but what I see a lot in the African American community or people of skin color is I see a lot of traction alopecia, actually. That's what we see in my practice. So when you combine traction alopecia, which is basically traction alopecia is hair loss that's caused by repeated pulling of the hair from braiding or other kinds of hair treatments. Like you see, I don't have any hair. Interesting that I shave mine off, so it's easier to manage. But when you keep on using those braids, you will definitely get into traction alopecia. In the African American community, when you combine the traction alopecia plus the other causes of hair loss, hereditary, age, stress, illness, hormonal imbalance, diet, nutrition, a whole bunch of other things that can cause hair loss, is just tremendous. That's what I see is exacerbated in the African American community.
So I want to add to what you just said, because a lot of our viewers are not from the medical community. So traction alopecia, as you rightly mentioned, if you notice I'm just going to use the word Black sometimes interchangeably, in the Black community, when you see the hairline is moved from here all the way to like halfway to the forehead. So that's what really traction alopecia is all about. So you see that from right when you're 2 or 3 years old, kids are in tight braids and corn weaves, and then they have all these cute little accessories on their hair, and it makes a lot of pulling. So with continuous pulling, the hairline gets shifted from here to here, and you can almost see that. So you can see that everybody's hairline started here. So that's really what traction alopecia is. And funnily enough, I have some very close friends from this community, and they were saying that the stress that Black women endure, because a lot of times culturally, most of them are single household, like breadwinners, and just a lot of stress in women. They're taking care of their kids and grandkids and having 2 or 3 jobs. And I had my realtor, she's African American, and she's a grandmother at 42, and she's taking care of her kids and her grandkids.
That's
and
stressful.
She is in college because she wants to set a good example for her kids and grandkids. And she was like, I'm not alone. Almost everybody has so much stress because we are taking care of so many things, and they put themselves last. So they're not eating as good. They're not exercising. They're working 80, 90 hours a week. So as you said, all of this causes a lot of stress, which then accelerates the DHT production, throws your hormones off balance, and then you add the traction alopecia. So it's a perfect storm of hair loss.
It really is. I mean, just think about it. We all experience hair loss. Everyone, whether Black, brown, or Caucasian. Then you add the braids to it, which gives you the traction. So I think African Americans have a higher risk of hair loss because of the extra stress from the braid. So that's what we see in practice. And a lot of times they don't know there are solutions. So people still wear braids, and people still wear I don't know what what is called all kinds of things to
Yeah.
cover the hair. The hair is very important. Is hair is like cosmetics at this point, right? Because everybody wants to have a great hair, you know. So that's what we see a lot.
So my next question is, so clearly now we understand why is the African American community and especially Black women, why are they losing hair? My next question is, what are some of the easiest ways to embrace natural hair? Because obviously Black hair is very hard to manage. It's extremely thick, frizzy. So I want to get into some hair tips that African American women can do in a minute. But from a treatment perspective and like overall, can you give us some tips as to how do you take care of your hair naturally if somebody was to avoid braiding?
Yeah, so there are a lot of options out there. I've been meeting a lot of African American women. As you probably know, my practice about 50 to 60% African American. We have a very diverse practice of Caucasian, white, Asian, everybody. So, but the 50% that we see, especially the older women, that they've stopped braiding their hair, and then they do, I think it's called twist, but it doesn't put a lot of traction on them, and you have to manage those things. There's other things that there are other options. Just don't braid, and if you have to braid, it cannot be pulled tight. Combing your hair, keeping it, because the problem is if you're not going to twist it and you have to do to kind of keep it straight, try to use less chemicals. These chemicals are going to damage your hair as well.
I want to add to it. There are a lot of ways to embrace your natural hair without harsh chemicals, harsh relaxants, and braiding, and like even wigs. Like I was doing that event for you 2 or 3 weeks ago, and 50% of your attendees that were female attendees, they were wearing wigs, and that wigs will eventually also damage your hairline because you have the traction alopecia. Now to hide the traction alopecia, you're putting on a wig, and every time you take the wig on and off, you're losing more and more hair up your front and everywhere it attaches with your scalp, and it's just bad news overall. So one of the my top tips is moisturize and more moisturize. The more moisturizing use, even on a daily basis, like heavy uses of oils and scalp moisturizers. The Hair Smart oil is a good one, and less shampooing. I don't think African Americans need to shampoo their hair more than once every other week, maximum once a week. And then using wide combs, using gentle combs, that's important. You cannot use fine tooth combs and brushes. And also getting a really, like, all this money that you spend on chemicals and processing and braiding and expensive, invest in a good haircut. Like, I think investing in a good haircut and then letting your hair heal so that whatever little you have left, you can carry it naturally. And then when you use a lot of moisturizer and you protect your hair before you iron it, like you can iron it once in a while, just don't do it all the way from the roots. You can still have a hairstyle which is not like all crazy. So it's my immediate big advice is you cannot go for immediate gratification. If you've had hair damage and hair loss, it will take you maybe a few months to get it back to a point where you can wear your hair naturally as is, without a wig or without overly processing or like braids or extensions. So
I jumping into the treatment. So those tips that you just mentioned, avoiding the chemicals. There's so many. I'm sure at some point we're gonna go into the treatments for hair loss at some point, or the different comprehensive treatment of hair loss which we offer. I hope we'll get into that.
Why don't you share that with us? What are the treatment options for treating African American hair loss, especially in women over the age of 50?
So I always say the best treatment is prevention. That's what things that we talked about. That's the very best treatment is prevention is better than cure. But if you've treated or you didn't prevent and now you have hair loss, the earlier you start, the better we can So there are medical treatments of hair loss and there are surgical treatment of hair loss, and they're kind of in between. I'm going to break it down into, let's start with medical. Because there are so many causes of hair loss, we may not be certain the main cause of your particular hair loss without diving into specifics too much. But let's say there's, I will call it multifactorial. I think, Prana, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say it in a medical term and you can translate in a layman's term. How about that? I think that's probably better that way, right? So since there are what we call a multifactorial cause, multifactorial means there's different causes of it. And then so let's start with medical. What we offer in our practice right now is Hair Smart, which provides you with the oil and the serum and the shampoos that Prana talked about. We also have light therapy, the low laser light therapy, which is a cap that you wear to ink. A lot of people don't understand how this works. The laser increases blood flow to your hair follicles, and your hair follicles, if you have hair follicles that are in the on the edge of falling off the cliff, that can bring them back. Okay, and it can maintain the ones you have. So that's one. So that's the medical part of it. Because there's medications, but who wants to take meds when there's options? So these are you don't have to take medication, but there are medications are available for hair loss as well. What we try to offer is the non-medical aspect of it. But if you want meds, we can give prescription for that, but we do have the natural hair solutions. That's what this is. So we treat you with the shampoo, the serum, and all the oil, and then we give you the low laser therapy. The next thing that we add to your therapy is the PRP, which is what we draw from your blood. We draw your blood, we spin your blood, and we separate the platelets. The platelets in your blood has growth factors that will allow your body to heal. And it allows your body to heal and regrow your hair and support the hair that you have. So I call that the in-between treatment. And then for those people that have tried the medical part and the PRP therapy and the light therapy and have lost all the hair, there's nothing to rejuvenate. And I do have an analogy for this. I will say that in a minute. We do have the surgical solutions where we take your part of the hair from the back of your hair and we transplant it to the front. I'm going to stop here to give Prana an opportunity to interpret it in a layman's terms. So I don't want to talk over anybody. Go ahead, Prana. Did I miss anything?
I think you said it perfectly. There are 3 stages of treatment options. For most women, they will probably want to stay with a non-surgical, non-invasive program, which is the Hair Smart program, which has light therapy. It has topical supplements, serum, soil. So it's like a complete package for early to medium stages of hair loss. And then when you add PRP, you can tackle the medium to advanced stages of hair loss, because the PRP is basically using your body's growth factors to then induce more hair growth. And then the last stage, which is for a lot of women who have absolutely no follicles left, so you have nothing to rejuvenate, as you rightly said. So, a lot of people are scared of surgery, but I just want to reiterate here that if you have nothing to regrow and you have all of this hair loss, but you want to have a healthy and natural hair lifestyle, you're better off getting that surgery one time, because all you're doing is transplanting your hair follicle from your back to the front, and then you can stay on with this natural Hair Smart protocol and this natural way of embracing your hair, no weaving, no braids, but at least you have the hair follicles, so you don't have to appear bald for the rest of your life. You get your surgery one time to fill in your hairline and your frontal look, and then you maintain a really healthy, good for you hair lifestyle. And that's a great way to treat, I think, Black hair loss.
Yes, so you said it right. So the analogy where I promised was, if you imagine somebody who's in the hospital, I think if you think about all of the different causes of hair loss. So imagine all of your hair, my hair, all of our hairs are like always in the hospital with some kind of sickness, whatever causing the hair loss, and we manage it. And then imagine that person that's having a heart attack, we have to kind of bring back to life. That's what the light and the PRP and the hair smart does, bring the person back to life. But if the hair is already gone and dead, there's nothing we can do about it. You have to transplant the hair from the back to the front. Now, there's different ways to do the transplant, but a lot of people worry about, well, what about my back? We can get some hair from the back without making your back bald. That's the key there. And that's follicular unit transplantation. And we do that through, we use hair smart and we use smart graft to make the hair. So everything kind of work together, okay? So this is being smart about hair loss, okay?
Do we have any questions? So I think I'm just pausing for a second to see if we have any questions from our attendees and our viewers on YouTube and Facebook.
Yes, there is a question from Allison.
Hi, thank you for all this information. It's great information. Not knowing a lot about how the hair transplant works, and you were talking about if there's no hair on top of the scalp, that you're grabbing you're doing the transplant from the back. So how are the follicles at the back or base of the head or neck area still alive and the others aren't? I'm just curious about that.
That is a great question. Alison, you must be a very smart person. So if you, okay, without offending anyone, and I know I've offended some people in the past, but if you look at the people, the old men that have lost hair, the bald men, where do they have the hair still? At the back of their head. Our hair is genetic, the hair, we call it the occipital hair, the hair at the back. God has programmed that hair, the DNA of that hair, they don't go away easily. So when you transplant that hair from here to the front, it retains the DNA basically the causes of hair loss is more immune to hair loss than the hair in the front. Does that make sense, Allison?
That's really good information.
Yeah. So as you see people with bald hair, especially men are you can see men, you can see, oh, they've lost all of their hair in the front, but they still have hair at the back. How is that possible? It's because of the DNAs of the hair follicles that it doesn't go away. Okay, so that's why we use that hair. You don't want to transplant hair from here to here because they have almost the same DNA, they're gonna go away. But if we use the hair from the back, it stays. And then we use hair smart and other things to maintain the hair that you have. So before I do hair transplant on any patient, we prepare. I also use analogy of agriculture for those who did agriculture. If you're planting something at home, see your plants or your tomatoes, whatever, as hair. You can't just put it in the clay. You gotta make sure the soil is fertile, so the plant can grow. The same thing as hair. So to implant the hair, I want to make sure I use Hair Smart to rejuvenate the tissue. I inject PRP to make sure we have enough growth factors to support the hair that we just implanted. And then we're going to support all of that stuff this is just using science to regrow and maintain hair loss. Instead of this is more of a comprehensive way of treating hair loss, instead of just doing one thing and say it doesn't work, because hair loss is a comprehensive treatment. You can't just do one and not the other.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Thank you.
So we'll take maybe one question more. It can be for Dr. Okoro or myself. And then because we are taking away from everybody's meal time, we are going to end today's webinar. Any
other questions?
Dr. Okoro, do you
I I have a question for you. So, Prana, if somebody wants to, because this is streaming live on YouTube, you know, people are going to rewatch it and stuff like that. What do you recommend? This is somebody in Georgia wants to, they don't know what to do. Well, you know, because they'll probably believe you more than they believe me, right? So where do I get started? You know, who do I go to? What do I do? What would be the first thing that you do, Prana, if you are still losing experiencing hair loss? What would
So,
knowing what you know now?
So the most important thing is to get an ally in your corner. Hair loss industry is very fragmented. There's not a lot of good information, and anytime you come across an educational website, it's almost all the time actually selling a product, or it's a particular hair loss clinic that is giving you a consultation. So I think the most important thing to do is to get a consultation or to get a hair coach. So what we do at Hair Smart is we have a no purchase obligation free hair counseling. We do one hair counseling session for anybody all over the world. And in that counseling session, we kind of just tell you what's going on and how can you treat yourself, whether it's surgical or non-surgical, whether you need something or you don't need anything. Our hair counselors, they give a very non-biased one like a good 1 hour or 45-minute consultation. It's very important because everybody thinks they can do everything by themselves, and we can't. We all need coaches and allies in our corner. And also, I'm just going to go over some quick tips, whether you are black or brown or white or in between, olive skin, doesn't matter what your communities, but this is more geared towards, it will apply to all of you, but this is specifically geared to the African American community. And this is more about like having a healthy hair lifestyle. So things that you can do at home to take care of your hair. So the first one is you must avoid braiding and cornrows or weaves. Like try to avoid them or make sure they're very loose and not pulling into your hair. Second, avoid chemical relaxations or be minimalistic with it. Don't go for frequent touch-ups. If you are, just do the touch-ups on the new parts. Don't do touch-ups on the whole thing. Avoid wigs, they can damage your hairline, and use lots and lots of moisturizing and oil almost daily, and do once a week good oil and scalp turban therapy. You can learn more about that on our website, how to do a really nice moisturizing and intense hair oiling and scalp treatment at home. You must always use a conditioner when you're shampooing your hair. You must not frequently shampoo your hair because African American hair is already very dry and frizzy and curly. Another thing is using a silk or satin pillow top and a hair cap for sleeping, using a wide tooth comb for brushing your hair. And then always, this goes for everybody, should start untangling and detangling from the tips and then work your way to the top. People start from the top and go to the bottom, and it results in a lot of breakage and damage. And finally, invest in a good haircut. This is so important. It'll help you, it will encourage you and inspire you to keep your hair in a natural way more often than not natural. So invest in a good haircut and it'll inspire you to avoid all kinds of harsh lifestyles and hairstyles. And heat protecting before styling, because a lot of our African American brothers and sisters, they always try to straighten their hair. So protect your hair before you press on that heat iron. So these are just some quick hair tips at home. Doesn't take away from the hair loss treatment plans, but this will help you heal your hair naturally over a period of time.
I want to share a slide if anybody wants to get in touch with me in the office to get a consult on hair smart or hair transplant and how to reach us at our spa. The hair smart is strictly sold through our medical spa, Amachi Med Spa. I'm going to share that slide right now. Is that okay? Oh, no, okay. So they can know how to get hair smart from Atlanta, Georgia. So this is, can you see my slide? Okay.
Yes.
So if you want to get in touch with us to get hair smart, you can either contact us. Of course, we're everywhere on social media. I'm amachimespa.com, or you can email us at info@amachimespa, or follow us on any of the channels. We have hair smart everywhere. And that's pretty much it for me.
Thank you so much, Dr. Okoro. Thank you to all the attendees and all our YouTube and Facebook viewers. We promise to continue to give you more education. And thank you, Dr. Okoro.
Thank you,
Thank
Prana,
you.
for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank
Have
you
a
for your
wonderful
time.
day.